Well, good evening, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor. We are back here with another episode of The Room Mill. We've got some big things to discuss today, but before we get started, everybody, I urge you to check out the debrief from last night, which was a fantastic episode, an hour and 10 minutes worth of real good content. Counterpoint this morning, I have to say, was probably the best episode we've done. Make sure you check that out. Listen, we're back and forth. It's well worth it. Good debate, good engagement. Make sure you check that out, everybody. As well, I have to point you towards my Patreon. I have to point you towards my website where we're cracking out articles, oneleeds.com. Check all that out. But as well, Patreon, well worth it, becoming part of the community, everybody. We're going to be doing an exclusive giveaway over Christmas. We're going to be sending out an Al Tanaka hoodie for free. You've got to be part of the Patreon to get involved as well, though. Alongside that, we've got bonus episodes. We've got Unseen Bits in America, which will be going out at some stage this week. So there's loads of bits over there. We've also got a new show coming over, the Tampa Bay Check-In, and we've got Matt as our first guest. Make sure you check on that, everybody. We've got so much stuff out there on the Patreon. Worth it for a measly £4 a month. Thank you so much as well. Really appreciate that. So we're getting into the news today, everybody, and there's bits that I wanted to talk about, but what I'm going to start on is Maximilian Wober. Yes, listen, the noise has started to become a little bit noisier. It is now from the Borussia Mönchengladbach side. Their CEO, I believe it's, the sporting director, they term it a little bit differently in Germany, has been speaking about the two targets that Borussia Mönchengladbach have in January, the winter window. And guess who is there? Yes, it is Maximilian Wober. Wober played really well, I thought, against Luton, but is Maximilian Wober, who starts for Austria, who started for Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Bundesliga last season and was, I believe, captain for them on multiple occasions, is he going to sit and maybe dwindle in the Championship? And when I say dwindle, not get any minutes, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, I'm going to go in a little bit of a puzzle way in this video, everybody, so stay with me. But Maximilian Wober, I believe, is going to leave Leeds United in the window. Now, Leeds were not willing to let him out on loan. This is positive news, because if Mönchengladbach come back in for him, he had that performance against Luton, which illustrates, look, he's still got it in the locker. He can play centre-back, he can play left-back. But Roda, the Borussia Mönchengladbach man at the top has suggested that he's got there are two targets, and they believe that Max is a really, really good player. And that's good news for Leeds United, because we did not budge on that transfer valuation. So you're looking at 12 and above, really. Now, what does that mean for Leeds United? It means we've got a centre-back missing. We've got Debayo there, of course we have. But Ethan Ampadu, who we're going to get onto in just a little bit, can play centre-back. Square pegs, round holes. We don't want to do that. You want to ideally have another centre-back. But we had dreams of playing a back three. We had dreams of maybe the manager playing a little bit more pragmatically at points this season. Maybe having a front two. Maybe having a back three with wing-backs, which I think would facilitate Bogle and obviously Junior Firpo. Obviously, he doesn't do that. Maybe a 4-4-2 at points. Obviously, he doesn't do that. Listen, Leeds United's structured formation is a 4-2-3-1, and we're not meandering away from that, hence why we're consistently having the conversation of Joseph or Peru, not Joseph and Peru. So, look, we move away from that, and I think Maximilian Wober is going to be leaving Leeds United, but it's the fee that we can get for him. And this opens up so many avenues, and I'm going to get into one right now. Team Talk and other sources are reporting today that James McAtee wants to stay in the north. That is his preference. Now, why is this significant? West Ham and Crystal Palace are the only suitors on Premier League level, and apparently he has 10 other suitors who have asked about his signature, and apparently Leeds are one of those. Now, what makes this even more interesting is if you listen to the Square Ball, Kinnear came on the Square Ball and essentially dropped McAtee's name, which I think is really big for a CEO to do, but he did that last season. He also dropped Fabio Carvalho's name, but obviously, look, he could do that at the end of the season and just say, look, this is what we tried to do, but we couldn't do it. Of course he's going to do that. That makes him look good. But if Leeds are to drop the money, I've mentioned previously, and when I talk about money, I'm talking about loan signatures, I'm talking about wages spent on loans. I think it would be really significant for Leeds to do that in central attacking midfield role. I think Leeds are absolutely naive and daft if they don't improve on the goalkeeper, but they won't, so I'm going to call them naive and daft on that. I think Farke's naive and daft for saying he's the best Championship goalkeeper. We all know that the metrics, the eye test, don't back any of that up, so we're going to stick with this guy, and if we get to the Premier League, we know that, and he's probably going to play with us in the Premier League as well, so we've just got to strap in and probably understand that this guy's not going to save us any points, and he's probably going to have a few howlers during the season, a la Sunderland, a la, Portsmouth. Norwich saved penalty, which should have happened when he stayed down the middle, but don't get me going. So look, central attacking midfield is the role that Leeds United need to improve in. We all know that. I don't think Brendan Aronson is Technically, and you don't have to have proof of Willian Gnonto in the 10, of Solomon in the 10. I think this manager has more than enough at his disposal to be able to utilise a player in that number 10. As a coach, you're supposed to be able to improve a player, okay? But Brendan Harrison just doesn't have those technicalities that a Solomon or a Gnonto has, or a Ramazani has. Those three players technically are elevated to Harrison. Harrison's a good football player, but technically he's not on their level. It's just a simple eye test of watching the game. Half turns, who's better in tight spaces, which you're going to have in central attacking midfield? Gnonto, Ramazani, and Solomon. Why? Low centre of gravity, diminutive players, but technically better players on the ball in tight areas. In tight areas is the clear distinction of where Harrison is a worse technically able footballer in a central attacking midfield capacity to those three players, 100%. It's not about speed over a set period. It's not about agility and all this sort of stuff. It's about which player is technically able to strike a ball a little bit better, but the most obvious tendency is in tight areas, how efficient are they? Those three are way more efficient than Brendan Harrison, in my opinion, in tight areas. But if you're not going to go with that route, if you don't want to utilise those players, absolutely fine. I think Manos Solomon would actually be more effective in that role, and he inverts so many times anyway that in that role, you know, he's probably a little bit more of a specialist anyway because he plays inside rather than outside generally for Leeds United anyway, I feel, even if he's a winger. Willian Gnonto naturally inverts, does it all the time, and that's where I feel he's a little bit more effective. I actually think on the right is his worst position, ironically. But if you want to do a number 10, you've got the facilities in there. James McAtee apparently wants to stay in the north. Man City are more willing, according to Team Talk, right now to be loaning him out in the month of January. And look, if Leeds are able to be part of that group, to be part of that mould who are going to be going after him, at least get ourselves in the picture like we did with Eddie when there were 19 clubs looking at him. But that's going to be interesting to see, everybody, how that develops. If Leeds do get a central attacking midfielder, we know that they were in for one in the summer. Do we drastically need one? I don't think we do, because I think Ramazani is going to open up space for Aronson. He's going to take the load off Gnonto as well. But if you want to give the manager all these Avenger stones, that's absolutely fine. Go and buy a central attacking midfielder and look, take it out of doubt. You know, unlock Mateo Joseph's further potential. Unlock more of what we can get from Joel Peru in that position. Do that, you know. Can we actually get goals and assists from the central attacking midfield? Can we actually get a match winner in that central attacking midfield role, which is what Daniel Farke had with Buendia, which is what Leeds United have had with Pablo Hernandez? That unlock, that player who is just the metronome, as I always say. You know, I do look at this team right now, and I think actually when we're getting further up the pitch, actually when we're trying to create, I actually think you look at someone like Tanaka, and I think he is that metronome right now, but we need someone in that attacking position to offer that as well. Almost a luxury player who can do everything, basically. I do think Leeds are missing that a little bit, but I do also think that Daniel Farke should be doing better with what we have going forward. A little bit more news, everybody, which we need to touch on is Ethan Ampadu. The source is saying today that he might be available going into the new year. I think Give Me Sport are saying it. I think Team Talk have uttered it as well today. Into the new year, that would be unbelievable. He comes back in, there's more options there, there's more depth. Obviously, he went off injured against Coventry. Now the conversation then becomes, what do you do with Ethan Ampadu? What do you do with Joe Rothwell? Because we know Tanaka's not going to be taken out. I'd love us to pivot to a midfield three. I think this midfield three with Leeds United would work so well. I literally think you've got Rothwell in there, maybe at the tip, just as more of the attacker, and Ampadu and Tanaka just at the base, and Ampadu maybe getting a little bit further forward as well, like he used to do at previous clubs when we saw him in that central midfield space, even at Sheffield United at points. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him have a little bit more expression and invention about his game as well, because I think he does have that capability in his locker. Look, going to a midfield three, I think would massively help Leeds United at stages anyway. The thing is, this is what he's got. He's got a team that can go to a back three. He's got a team that can go to a midfield three. He's got a team where he can go to a front two. He's got so many options, not only to play certain personnel, but move around the formation, the structure, the framework, and for it to work. We saw it in pre-season when we went to a back three at stages. So Daniel Farke has the ability now to do this. And if the board grace him with a central attacking midfielder as well, I mean, he's literally got everything he wants. He's got competition out wide. He's got competition at fullback. He's got competition at centre-back, dependent on Max Verber. But Ampadu coming back adds competition there. You've got competition in central midfield. He's got competition everywhere. Maybe the only place that he hasn't is centre attacking midfielder. But like I said, I do keep having to say this, when you watch footballers in tight spaces, which is where central attacking midfielders primarily roam. I think when you look at Solomon, I think when you look at Nonto, I think when you look at Ramazani, they would all suit that role. And then you can still keep James out wide, or you can pivot one of those players out wide who isn't playing in that central attacking midfield role. This is the whole point. He has options. But if Leeds want to give him another player in that central attacking midfield role, I'm not going to say no. Of course I'm not if we get a James McAtee or Carvalho. And I think they might do that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Would you go to a midfield 3? Is that what you'd do? And maybe take Aronson out and push Rothwell a little bit further forward when Ampadu comes back. It looks like it's going to be sooner than we actually thought. Fascinated to hear your thoughts. Make sure you check out the Counterpoint, the Debrief, Patreon, and of course, everybody, your Tiger Tanaka merch. It is selling like hotcakes. Make sure you check out the link in the description below. Check out IPM Group UK and football prizes. Of course, everybody, we've got tickets everywhere. Make sure you get involved for hospitality. Get involved for getting down to the game and getting signed t-shirts. It's like a £3.95 entrance. Do that. Link in the description below. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you in a bit.